So I see people dropping in here. So hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. And I just go back one slide. If you're looking into studying at a place that is really non-hierarchical, and at the same time, if you want to take advantage of the fantastic nature in Sweden and that it has to offer, then you've come to the right place. My name is Martina. I am an education officer here at the Faculty of Science at the University of Gothenburg, and I will be guiding you through this webinar today. I am joined by my colleague Matilda and two of our international student ambassadors, Ragini and Ivan, and they will introduce themselves in a short while. And I just thought I would go through a little bit housekeeping rules. For your information, we have the Q&A box open, so you're welcome to put your questions in the Q&A box. But please note that we will go through the information first. So we will talk about the study system and everything like that, and answer the questions at the end of the session. So don't be alarmed if we don't answer in the Q&A box. We will do that later. And of course, we will talk about the master's programs that we have to offer within biology and biodiversity. We will talk about admission and study system, give you a short introduction of Gothenburg and how to find housing, for example. We'll talk shortly about the welcome program and events that are for students in Gothenburg. And then, like I mentioned, we'll jump into a Q&A session where we can answer your questions. So with this being said, I would like to hand over to Matilda, who will tell us a little bit about the master's programs in biology and biodiversity, diversity and systematics.
There we go. Just one second. Okay, yeah. Hi. So my name is Matilda. I'm a study counselor and or study advisor in biology here at Gothenburg, the University of Gothenburg. I've studied biology myself previously, and as you all know, biology is the study of life. It's kind of a large subject, including everything from microorganisms and multicellular organisms to populations and large-scale ecosystems, even the whole world as a study field. We believe that first step to new findings and solutions towards taking good care of our planet and living organisms would be to educate a new generation of biologists. So I will present two of our master's programs in biology, and we will start with the first one, plainly called Biology Master's Program. So we can move on to the next slide, Martina. So the Biology Master's Program is it consists of 2 years full-time studies. It's built on elective courses of your choosing in both terrestrial and aquatic life. You can, this means that you can tailor your education to your own interests and specialty. There are many courses to choose from. The majority is taught in English, but also some courses taught in Swedish. There is also, for those who are interested, we also offer an applied project course, which you can take for half a semester or longer, a whole semester, where you do studies in a specific research group with a researcher in a particular field. So To make the course choices a bit easier, we have grouped the courses into suggested main profiles. So this is the same master's program, but you can focus on different profiles depending on which courses you choose. And the profiles we have, you'll see listed here, and it's evolutionary and behavioral ecology, physiology and cell biology, conservation biology, marine ecology, and then biodiversity and systematics, which I will talk about more later. And then we've also listed molecular biology, genomics, and systems biology. For the last one, there's a separate talk about this, but we listed it since you can mix courses yourself and also specialize in this field within this program. So regardless of which courses you choose, the teachers are active researchers teaching within the field of expertise. This guarantees an up-to-date education, and you will learn about the latest research findings. Even if the education has a strong research connection, the program also suits you who imagine a career outside of the academia. At the end of your studies, you will perform a practical research project up to 1 year in one of our research groups. This will prepare you for a successful career in academia, industry, or public authorities, for example. Yeah, we can move on to the next program. So, as you all know, science is far from having discovered and described all organisms existing on the planet. Still, it's evident that biodiversity today is under serious threat. And to meet this challenge, we need a new generation of biologists specializing in this field in particular. So this is why we offer the Nordic Masters Program in Biodiversity and Systematics. In short, we call it NABIS. It's also 2 years full-time studies and deals with the multitude of organisms on our planet and the evolutionary relationships between them. Biodiversity as a subject and specialization in different groups of organisms is difficult to cover by one single university. So this is why it's a collaboration between different Nordic universities. And you can choose courses between all these different ones. The program aims to provide the taxonomic skills needed to work specifically in biodiversity and its conservation in the future. It provides a broad overview of living organisms. You will become familiar with nomenclatural rules, develop identification skills for inventory of species and natural habitats. You will also be able to produce and assess molecular systematic information and develop an understanding of the biodiversity's role in a global perspective. It also includes the ethical and economical aspects of conservation. It's also closely connected to Gothenburg Global Biodiversity Center, GGBC, which is an organization that aims to link science and society around biodiversity to encourage and enhance biodiversity research. The organization extends well beyond the borders of our home base of Gothenburg University with partners worldwide. As a fun fact, David Attenborough is an honorary member, someone you probably know of before. There is external information on their webpage, nabismaster.org. Yeah, let's move forward. So a little bit about application. The prerequisites or entry requirements is a bachelor's degree in science and biology, including at least 60 credits or ECTS in biology, and also one in-depth course in biology of at least 15 credits. Since it's taught in English, you obviously need English proof. equivalent to English B or English 6. For the novice program, an addition is that you require the degree to include a thesis, term paper, or equivalent proof of proficiency in academic writing. Despite which program you end up applying for, new opportunities to immerse yourself in your desired field of study are enormous. With your master's studies, you can either specialize or generalize within the field of biology, depending on your preferences. It provides theoretical and practical tools and skills needed, and the education is a combination of lectures, seminars, labs, fieldwork, and computer skills taught by the experts themselves. Good to know is that full-time studies corresponds to 40 hours per week. Okay, so let's see. You can, of course, find more information on the GU website about the programs and all the different courses we offer. On this website, you will also find information on how to apply, tuition fees, scholarships, and university studies in Sweden, which Ivan and Ravani will also talk a bit more about. If you're interested, you will also find some more information about ongoing research and inspirational talks from researchers and students active now. An advice is to check the Science Faculty magazine on the web, also social medias. Application has already opened and it closes the 16th of January. So just make sure to submit your application before this. All applications are submitted through the University Admissions website. You want me to add something, Martina? Or...
No, I think that is fine. Here we have a slide with all the contact information to the department, and if you have questions about tuition or scholarships. So thank you, Matilda, for now. For those of you who jumped into the webinar a little bit later, I mentioned before that you're welcome to put your questions in the Q&A box, and we will answer them at the end of this session. So feel free to ask questions if you have any. So I would like to let Ragini take over here and talk about her life as an international student in Gothenburg.
Hi everyone, I'm Ragini. I come from India and I study the Genomics and Systems Biology Masters. I don't think it's available this year, but I do think the courses within the program, as Matilda talked about earlier, you have a lot of flexibility to choose courses. So even if the program doesn't exist, the courses still run. And why I chose this program is because even though it's part of molecular biology, they focus a lot on analyzing large data sets within biology. So all sorts of omics, things like that, and bioinformatics. And I thought it had a good structure. Since I came here, though, I've fallen in love with the city. I love how close it is to different kinds of nature, whether it's lakes or the sea. And I've met really lovely people. And I hope that if you do come here, you would discover that for yourself as well. The study system in Sweden, it's, well, I think the most characteristic thing is that it's very not hierarchical, again, as you've heard. Something interesting with Gothenburg University, so back home in India, I was used to taking like 5 or 6 courses at a time, and it doesn't really allow you to focus on one thing. But here they have just one course for about 2 months. So you focus on one thing or one set of concepts and you go really in depth into that. And I thought that was quite neat. There are 120 ECTS credits spread over 2 years or 4 semesters. And of course, you have a thesis. You have options to do your thesis for 30 credits, meaning one semester, or 60 credits, meaning a whole year. And then, of course, there are many ways that they grade you. For example, I did have exams in 1 or 2 courses, but I also had lots of like a large practical component, which required lab reports and presentations and so on. Another thing that I like is that they don't focus too much on marks or ranks. They want you to understand the concepts clearly, and if you do, then you pass, and if you haven't, then you fail. So you don't have a very graded yeah, I think it's more holistic, their approach overall. And of course, if you need any help or if you have any questions, then you can always reach out to your study counselors. Perhaps you need to change courses, or you need advice on what to take, or perhaps you want to go on an exchange program. Then study counselors are your go-to person. Yes, and for international students, this is probably one of the most important or critical things to keep in mind. If you are staying outside of the EU, or if you are a resident of outside the EU, then you do require a visa to stay here, and you are also required to pay the tuition fee. So for those people, then it's very important that you understand what documents you need to have and prepare for yourself when you apply for your residence permit. And it's really important that you start that quite soon. And I think the same thing goes for scholarship deadlines too. For this application period, I think they require you to, if you are going to apply for the scholarship, they require you to submit your documents a little bit earlier. I think by February is the general deadline. Because there are usually multiple application windows. And in the first one, if you are applying for a scholarship, it's important that you complete your application within the first window, that is by February. Yeah. Okay, now for something a bit more fun. Well, I do hope that I would see some of you here, and you would discover how really international the city is, and there are so many students, and I think part of that has to do with the fact that there are 2 universities here, and also because there are so many international companies that are based in Gothenburg, that it really attracts a large crowd from all over the world. In fact, almost a quarter of the people from Gothenburg were not born in Sweden. And as I said before, the city is quite spread out, and there are lots of lakes in between, and the sea is quite close by, and there's an archipelago that you can explore. So it really allows you to combine your student life with, with exploring other parts of your life as well, I would say.
Thank you very much, Ragini. And with that, we will hand over to Ivan, who can talk a little bit about his experience in Gothenburg.
Thank you, Martina. So, hello everyone. My name is Ivan, and I'm an international student from Croatia. I am currently on my master's program in environmental sciences, and I've always had this distinct attraction to the Scandinavian and Western countries in general. And when I saw the freedom of choice, which is far greater to explore your own courses and choose your own path, what do you want to do and study in life, that's why I chose the University of Gothenburg. And it's far greater of a choice back and compared to Croatia. So, and the reason why I chose environmental sciences is that there are so many. It's not only is it just a hot topic, of course, within the around the world, but also within Sweden, there are numerous possibilities that you can do as a student of environmental sciences, whether it's from a biological aspect or a geological or a geographical aspect. There will always be something for you to do. And with it, you can just broaden your circle of friends and colleagues, which will, of course, one day be beneficial for you in the future. So we discussed where we are, and now how to get here, or rather how to find housing. If you are even remotely considering on studying in Gothenburg, the first and most immediate advice for you would be to register at the website sgs.se. Regardless if you are a student or not, you can still start collecting housing points per day, because that is one of the most important things for you when you are admitted as a student in Gothenburg to find housing. It is a bit difficult, but it's not impossible. That is why you can just register and open an SGS account right now. And once you have, if you have been admitted to your program, you can also, like, a short tip is just to look at the direkt or sista minuten, which is last minute offers for any kind of apartments. And this is SGS is it's a student housing, so you can find either rooms or 2 or 3 3-roomed apartments, however you choose. And most of the time you will be situated around areas that are also inhabited by other students. So whether it's a dorm or a complex of apartments, but you don't have to limit yourself just on student housing. You can also find multiple websites which offer housing as well. The most popular ones being Blocket.se and Casa, which I have also personally investigated myself, and I have also have an account on Blocket. It is easier when you have a personal number, but it's still possible to find a housing there. And one more thing, which I didn't know exactly when I came here in Gothenburg, which I maybe should have known before. You can also join Facebook groups, and depending on your nationality, for example, I found housing offers from people from my own country, from Croatians who were willing to offer like rooms or housing to any kind of countryman. And there is a very high chance that you can find that for yourself as well. Now, another tip that is very important, which I also did, you can join a student union, and they can give you 3 months extra waiting time. So for example, if you register your account in April next year, and if you join a student union, you get 3 extra months. So as if you registered in January, which gives you quite a good advantage compared to other students when searching for housing. So you will have more points. The points system is based on days. So how many days have you been registered at the SGS website? That's how many points you have. So 365 days equals 365 points. And there is sometimes there are always scams wherever you go in any international city. So one of the most important advice as well is do not pay anything in advance whenever you're searching for housing. So always check the apartment beforehand. Always be sure to have a contract and never to pay anything in advance. And we have this website where you can find even more tips and information on student housing here in Gothenburg. Now, as for, well, all of us international students, there is quite a number of events and welcome days that, well, the job is to give international students a sense of feeling as if they're at home. And that is why we have also the welcome services, which offer pickups from the Gothenburg International Airport, and several welcome days, which I think I have visited a few of them, where you can get to know your colleagues, whether it is from your own program or from other programs. You can find so many students with which you can exchange information and how to just get along in the city. And another activity that is quite popular is the Erasmus Student Network. I believe they have also a welcome day around the end of August. I have been there once. It is in one of our parks where you can also hang out with other students and just, well, we can introduce you to the University of Gothenburg. And UniMeet Gothenburg is another very, yeah, they give information for students through the newsletters. And I do believe that next week there is an event organized by the UniMeet Gothenburg organization, which will talk about job opportunities for international students in Gothenburg. Well, suffice to say that we offer a lot of events for students to feel home, to feel as if they're home, and not to, well, we always want to be there for everyone. So.
Yes, thank you very much, everyone, for the information so far. So we've come to the part where we are taking questions. I see there was one question, maybe Matilda can answer that. How much opportunity is there in the specialization conservation biology to gain specific knowledge, species knowledge, especially out in the field? So how much, I'm guessing, how much field work possibilities are there, for example?
Sorry, yeah. Well, this all depends on which courses you choose, obviously, but most courses do have some sort of field trips included, and maybe some specific smaller research projects and such. But I also just did a quick look on the website, and we within this profile we suggest 9 different courses, which is a total of 135 ECTS, excluding the thesis project. So you have a number of courses to choose from, which makes it possible for you to choose the particular courses you're interested in, and which actually includes field trips and species knowledge. So yeah, does that answer the question? Or
Probably, I think you can put in the Q&A or in the chat box. Yes, yeah, Ragini, you go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that also I think in a more general sense, when your courses do provide, like as I said, they have a strong practical component. So you can obviously choose courses that focus more on some sort of field work. And this, in a more general sense, even if you're in not in conservation biology, but in another science program, then you can use, for example, in molecular biology, a course that requires more lab work, you can choose that. I did want to say as well that when I saw this question, I immediately thought of this classmate of mine, and I think she studied with me, but so it was not very conservation biology related, but I think she's right now in Kenya studying elephants. So, I mean, you do have options, and Erasmus programs are a great way to go to a new country and do field work there. But also, I think if you talk to the faculty here, once you get here, they will help you and provide you people that you can interact with who could give you opportunities to focus on fieldwork for your thesis as well.
Yeah, thank you for that note. And I mean, we also have field stations that are maybe throughout the western region of Sweden where you could go. I mean, even I know that you, even in other courses, I know you went on different field trips, maybe not within environmental science studies, but still there are a lot of our courses have field trip activities in them, right? Maybe you can talk a little bit about what you did.
Absolutely. So one of the courses called ecotoxicology addresses the problematics of, well, pollution and environmental issues within the marine aspect. Actually, I think it's more of a course for marine biologists, or yeah, it has more of a focus on the marine wildlife, but environmental science students are also able to join this course. And we went to Kristineberg, which is up north from Gothenburg, I think. Yeah, and it's a sight to behold. I mean, the experience that you get there on-site approach, handling, and like just so much knowledge, which just can't be gained by just sitting in a lab or from a textbook. That is something that I would definitely recommend. And this year, I have already been to a field trip into Norway, where we have, it's at, what was the course called? Regional Environmental Earth Science. So this is more of a course for earth sciences, but environmental science students are also welcome to join this. And it was an amazing once in a lifetime experience for me, climbing glaciers and discovering the geology of not just Sweden, but also Norway, and how the climate change can affects our surrounding area. And the current course that I'm right now in, I will be going on a field trip to Catalonia in Spain in the middle of December, I think. Yes, in the middle of December for a week, where we will be addressing climate change from a geographical perspective, which also includes human activities and also natural activities, how they have changed in these past few decades. And I believe there is a course somewhere in spring, but I don't think I will be attending that one. I think that is a bachelor's course, but I'm not sure. It also includes a trip to China, I think. And I don't know if it's 1 or 2 weeks, but I know that some of my colleagues are going to go on that trip. So there are a lot of excursions hosted by the University of Gothenburg. Yeah. So.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's also, like you mentioned, I mean, you are in the environmental science program, but you're taking courses within the earth sciences, for example. So since we are a big faculty, we have 7 departments within the natural sciences. So there is a lot of possibility to do interdisciplinary work, I guess. So that's something I think I want to highlight here.
And next year we will. Oh, sorry.
Can I ask?
Next year, yes.
Yeah, okay, so it's about that you can choose courses from different departments and such, since it is a very flexible program. You can choose whichever courses you want, basically. Just that you need to have at least 60 credits within the actual field you're studying in the master's program. Also, something which can be good to think about is that even if you're admitted to the program, there are different prerequisites and entry requirements to each course. Something you might have experienced, Ivan and Ragini, that you need to fulfill the entry requirements to each course you apply to.
Yes, so it is a flexible environment. However, there are some requirements for you to have, so it's not completely out of bounds. So yeah.
Yeah, we got another question here. Somebody who got admitted to the reserve list for the Masters of Biology and is wondering if you have a chance of getting admitted into environmental sciences with a biology background. Maybe that's a little bit out of our knowledge base here, because it's there will be another webinar for the environmental science programs that's focusing on climate and sustainability, where we will highlight the environmental science masters. You should be able to find pretty good information on our website for the program. And I would suggest that you will join the webinar in December as well for climate and sustainability. I want to say it's the 7th of December. I can show you the dates in a little bit. Do we have any more questions? Maybe, I don't know, about student life, scholarship possibilities. I mean, Ragini, you're here on a scholarship, for example. You already mentioned that it's good that you will get, for example, the one that's called Axel Adler Scholarship. That's the one that's by the university. You will actually get a reply about being a scholarship recipient before you know that you get admitted, right? Or am I, or something like that? It's.
Yeah, I think the office that's in charge for admissions and the office in charge for scholarship decisions, sometimes they send out the information, I mean, maybe a few days apart, less than a week apart. So it could be that you get, oh, you're a recipient of the scholarship, congratulations. And then, but did I get admitted into the university? Then you get that information as well. So I will say that maybe because I didn't talk about it too much before, I think there are two main ways where you can get funding as a master's student. And one of them is, of course, the Axel Adler Scholarship, which provides you free tuition. But there is also the Erasmus scholarships, which are things you can apply for when you arrive here, which allow you to go on exchange programs for 6 months to a year. But there are also other grants. I think the Adlerbertska Foundation, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but that also allows, that's actually funding that's available for a larger category. So doctoral students as well as master's students. For me specifically, in my application, the only thing that was extra that I had to write was a motivation letter. And I think they asked me to submit my resume again, but there were just 2 additional requirements apart with the general application that I had to send. So it's a fairly straightforward process, and it's good that if you are eligible for one, to try for it. So.
It doesn't seem like we get a lot more questions now, so I think I will just share my screen again here and show you where you can get more information. That doesn't look like it's supposed to, but you can get more information about our faculty. So Ivan and Ragini are actually part of our ambassador group. So we have international master students that work for us, and some of them are more active on our Instagram. So the Instagram, if you're not already following, you should check that out, Science GU. That is our channel that is driven entirely by the ambassadors, so you can really get a sense of how it is to be a student here. We will send out this presentation and also the recording of this webinar on our YouTube channel. So I have put the link here. Also, I really would like to urge you, if you're not in Sweden right now and you're wondering what it looks like where you will be studying, we have a virtual tour where you can click, I would like to study biology, where will my classes be at? So the tour takes you into the different buildings. Just a note here, for next autumn semester, 5 of the 7 departments within the Faculty of Science will actually move to an entirely new building that's been built just for us. So we are a little bit closer to our medical and life science hub at the university. So we're really looking forward to that. So there will be updates in the tour. If you're wondering why it changes throughout the year, you know why. We are moving and the tour is being updated. And as Ivan mentioned before, there are different Facebook groups for international students that you will, if you're an admitted student, you will get actually an invitation to join a newly admitted student at the University of Gothenburg group. So check out those web pages. And as we mentioned, there are other webinars coming up. Here are the dates. And so, for example, if you're interested in the environmental sciences as well, it is the 7th of December. There will be a webinar just for the climate and sustainability programs that we offer here at the faculty. And also tomorrow, for example, the university has a webinar, Life as a Student, that is also hosted by international students here at the university. So that's not only science students, but that's students from all over the university, but they're all international. So if you're interested, join that as well. All webinars are always starting at 3 standard European time. And with that being said, I would like to thank everybody for joining, and if you have any questions, you will get the presentation. Those are my contact details, international@science.gu.se. Feel free to get in touch. I'm not a study counselor myself, but I will be able to send you a question to the right people. So if we don't have any more questions at this point, I want to thank my colleagues here that joined me in the webinar. And with that being said, hope to see many of you guys here next year, and have a good evening or day from wherever you joined. Bye.
Bye.